is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, President Vladimir Putin hailed ties with Beijing as an unprecedented stabilizing force ahead of his state visit, saying the alliance is key to countering Western pressure. President Vladimir Zelensky says Ukrainian strikes on Russian refineries are severely hitting Moscow's economy, forcing those shutdowns and widening budget deficits. Explosions rock southern Lebanon despite a 45-day ceasefire extension as Israel expands airstrikes over alleged truce violations. The hantavirus-hit cruise ship MV Honduras has docked in Rotterdam, where officials launched strict decontamination and staggered crew disembarkation. Violent unrest crippled La Paz as Morales-allied protesters clashed with police, detonated dynamite and looted buildings amid a deep economic crisis. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez accused Washington at the WHO summit of cutting health aid while spending heavily on military conflicts. And in showbiz, Shakira and Burna Boy released Die Die, the official song of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, alongside plans for the first final halftime show. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. For our first story, Russian President Vladimir Putin extended a message of deep respect to the police of China ahead of High Strike's state visit to Beijing. Hailing bilateral ties as having reached an unprecedented level, Putin emphasized that the alliance serves as a critical stabilizing force against Western pressure on the global stage. This report.
Security has been tightened across the Chinese capital as Russian President Vladimir Putin begins high-profile two-day visit. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin praised the deep atmosphere of mutual trust and equality shared between Moscow and Beijing. According to Putin, his upcoming talks with President Xi Jinping will aggressively push the boundaries of their strategic cooperation.
И в настоящее время российско-китайские отношения достигли действительно беспрецедентного уровня. Их особый характер проявляется в атмосфере взаимопонимания и доверия, готовности сотрудничать на обоюдовыгодных и равноправных началах, вести уважительный диалог, оказывать друг другу поддержку в вопросах, затрагивающих коренные интересы двух стран, включая защиту суверенитета и государственного единства.
A central pillar of the summit's agenda focuses on the economic and defense sectors. The two leaders are expected to sign around 40 separate bilateral agreements during the visit.
Putin revealed that the bilateral trade has shattered expectations, surging past the $200 billion milestone.
Crucially, the Russian leader confirmed that nearly all financial transactions between the two powers are now completed entirely in their respective national currencies, bypassing Western-dominated banking systems.
Важно, что именно эти вопросы составят повестку дня предстоящих в Пекине переговоров. Искренне ценю настрой председателя Си Цзиньпина на долгосрочное сотрудничество с Россией.
As Washington watches the strengthening alliance closely, Putin rejected Western criticisms of the alignment. He argued that the partnership is not a military alliance targeting any specific nation, but a unified front designed to defend international law and the integrity of the United Nations Charter. Meanwhile, Kremlin officials confirmed that talks will tackle the most delicate issues of regional security, reinforcing their joint operations across multilateral blocs like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organizations.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky claims Kiev's strategic strikes on Russian energy targets are severely crippling Moscow's economy. Zelensky asserted that Ukraine is deliberately bringing the war back to Russian soil, forcing the closure of oil wells and accelerating regional budget deficits. Deutsche Banau has the news.
Повертаємо російську загарбницьку війну.
In a recent video address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky framed Kyiv's ongoing aerial bombardment of Russian energy infrastructure as an entirely justified response to Russian terror. Zelensky claimed that Ukraine's long-range actions have effectively systematically disabled vital parts of Moscow's primary revenue stream over the last several months.
Повертаємо російську загарбницьку війну додому, в те єдине місце, звідки війна і прийшла, і кожен бачить наші цілком справедливі відповіді на російський терор. На всі удари по Україні ми нарощуємо наші відповіді. Колись було подією, що...
Citing an intelligence report, the Ukrainian leader claimed that Russia's oil refining capacity has plummeted by 10%. He further alleged that Russian oil companies are being forced to shut down their oil wells, a move he described as highly damaging due to the technical difficulties Moscow faces when attempting to restart production to inactive wells.
Корисна. Сьогодні була доповідь розвідки по російських втратах від наших санкцій. Тільки цими місяцями мінус 10% російської нафтопереробки. Важливо також відзначити, що російські нафтові компанії змушені зупиняти свердловини. Це ще більш суттєво. Природа російського нафтовидобутку така, що їм саме це найбільш неприємно. Звісно, крім втрати грошей.
Zelensky added that Russia's budget deficits since the start of 2026 have already outpaced their yearly targets, claiming Putin's war chest is insufficient to sustain the conflict indefinitely. Reports offer some context to these economic strains, citing statements from Russian Finance Minister Anton Siluanov that regional budget deficits reached record highs last year and are projected to widen throughout 2026 amid slowing growth, weaker corporate profits, and heavy spending. This has been Joy Banal, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Despite the newly announced 45-day ceasefire extension brokered by Washington, the streets of southern Lebanon are echoing with repeated explosions as Israel expands its bombing campaign and mandates new civilian evacuation. Jane Cunita will give us the updates.
For the residents of the historical coastal city of Tyre, the word ceasefire has completely lost its meaning. On paper, a fresh 45-day truce extension brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump on May 15 is supposed to be providing a diplomatic runway for peace talks in Washington. On the ground, however, the reality is a relentless barrage of heavy artillery, low-flying Israeli warplanes, and the near-constant hum of surveillance drones overhead. Displaced families who originally returned south during the initial April truce now report being trapped in a cycle of panic, waking up to midnight rocket fire and sudden displacement orders.
ما في هدنة أبداً بكذبوا على العالم كل يوم بيقولوا لنا هدنة هدنة ومنهم على الوضع بالمرة مش منيح وهي هلأ قبل شوي بعتوا تهديد انذار يضربوا برج شمال يعني بصور إنه كتير الوضع منه منيح أبداً.
The conflict flared violently on Monday as thick black smoke rose across Lebanon's Nabatea Governorate. Israeli warplanes carried out targeted afternoon airstrikes against the towns of Haruf, Zabadin, and Shukin, while the outskirts of Kfar Ruman were subjected to sustained artillery shelling. Compounding the panic, the Israeli Defense Forces issued an urgent immediate evacuation order for residents in Haruf, Daba'al, and Burj al-Shamali. The IDF claimed the strikes were necessary retaliatory actions against Hezbollah violations of the truce, instructing civilians to flee at least 1,000 meters away from populated centers into open terrain.
يعني احنا كنا ناطرين يمروا 45 يوم اللي قبلهم ونجي انه على رواق وتنفتح البلد وبلش العالم ترجع على بيوتها وبلش اعاده الاعمار ويصير انسحابات للاسرائيليه من عمن جنوب لبنان ويرجع الامن والسلام لعنا. فاللي بين انه جددنا 45 يوم هلا الليله طول الليل ضرب وقصف وما بعرف شو لوين رايحين ما حدا عارف.
The ongoing operations underscore Tel Aviv's determination to permanently enforce its controversial yellow line boundary. The military protocol bars displaced civilians from returning to roughly 80 southern border towns, effectively carving out a 10% slice of Lebanese sovereign territory up to the Litani River to serve as a de facto Israeli buffer zone. While diplomats in Washington claim the framework of the truce is holding, the families of Tyre are left to navigate a harrowing landscape where a declared peace feels indistinguishable from an active war zone. This has been Jane Cogniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Iran has announced the establishment of a new authority designed to exercise direct management over the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Compounding the re-regulation, the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps says it will not demand permits, supervision, and tolls of all critical undersea cables passing through the choke point. Tehran announced recently the information of the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, or PGSA, a new entity explicitly tasked with governing maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Alongside the launch, officials debuted the agency's official social media platform on X, which is designed to broadcast real-time operational updates across the strategic waterway. The administrative shift was immediately backed by a hardline maritime mandate. By its official SAPA news outlet, Iran's Islamic Revolution Guard Corps announced that all underwater fiber optic cables passing through the strait will now be subject to strict IRGC permits, surveillance, and toll collections. The aggressive regulatory play has sent shockwaves through global markets due to the profound strategic sensitivity of the seabed. The undersea communications networks targeted by Tehran carry over $10 trillion worth of global financial transactions every single day. Officials warned that any disruption to this critical digital artery risks triggering severe direct and indirect losses ranging from tens to hundreds of millions of dollars daily across global financial and energy supply chains. Up next, the Hanta virus-hit cruise ship MV Honduras has docked in Rotterdam, where officials launched strict decontamination and staggered crew disembarkation. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez accused Washington at the WHO summit of cutting health aid while spending heavily on military conflicts. And violent unrest crippled La Paz as Morales' allied protesters clashed with police, detonated dynamite, and looted buildings amid a deep economic crisis. More news when Newsline World returns.
Sa bawat panahon ng krisis, may mga tinig na patuloy na nagtatanong. Hindi para sirain ang pamahalaan, kundi para panagutin ito.
That the President's role is to defend press freedom and not lead in destroying it or demeaning its practitioners.
Mga salitang minsang nagbigay pag-asa sa malayang pamamahayag.
It is my duty for which I ask no special favor, but only fairness, which every citizen, be he the leader of the land or a tiller of the soil, deserves from the fourth estate.
Sapagkat ang media ay hindi kaaway ng gobyerno. Ito ay bantay ng bayan.
Unlike many of my predecessors, I do not seek collaboration, for that implies a surrender of your independence.
Ang tunay na malayang media, hindi sunod-sunuran, hindi tahimik, hindi takot.
I am of the opinion that national interest is better served by a press that is critical rather than a press that is cooperative.
Dahil sa isang demokrasya, ang mapanuring media ay hindi hadlang sa pamahalaan. Ito ang nagpapatibay dito.
It must have the untrammeled freedom to do its work, not just to arm the citizenry with the truth, but also to deepen discernment in this age of mass disinformation.
Sa panahon ng disinformation, mas mahalaga ang katotohanan, mas mahalaga ang malayang pamamahayag.
The principal role of the press is not to applaud those who cover. but you hold us accountable without holding back and giving praise to those who deserve it and providing criticism for those who deserve that.
Ang kritikal na media ay hindi kalaban ng gobyerno. Ito ay haligi ng demokrasya. Panindigan natin ang kalayaan sa pamamahayag. Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat katakutan. Sa isang tunay na demokrasya, ang malayang pamamahayag ay hindi dapat pinatatahimik. Ito ay pinakikinggan. Ang kritikal na media ay hindi kalaban ng gobyerno. Ito ay haligi ng demokrasya. Panindigan natin ang kalayaan sa pamamahayag. Para sa Diyos at Pilipinas nating mahal, kasama nyo ang SMNI sa panatang ito.
And we're back. The hantavirus-stricken expedition cruise ship MV Honduras back into its home port of Rotterdam on Monday, kicking off a tightly controlled staggered disembarkation and decontamination protocol. Verhil Parba has the details.
The MV Honduras was docked in Rotterdam under the tight health surveillance after a mid-voyage hantavirus outbreak linked to 3 passenger deaths. Security footage shows the remaining 27 people on board, 25 crew and 2 medical staff, disembarking under the supervision of Dutch maritime health officials. Authorities implemented a staggered disembarkation to move personnel into local monitoring systems. Inspectors say none of those remaining show symptoms associated with hantavirus. The vessel will now be turned over to biosecurity teams for full decontamination, including chemical cleaning, rodent eradication, and system-wide disinfection. The outbreak triggered an international health response last week when most passengers were forced to disembark in Tenerife, quarantined, and flown home. Health agencies are still tracing contacts of travelers who left the ship at earlier ports. With the ship now contained in Rotterdam, investigators are focusing on how the rodent-borne virus entered the expedition cruisers' storage areas. This has been Verhil Parba, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez delivered scathing remarks against the United States on the sidelines of the World Health Organization summit in Geneva. Sanchez accused Washington of undermining global security by cutting billions of dollars in health aid while pouring vast sums into military conflicts. Paul Montibon reports.
At the 79th World Health Assembly, the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez warned that the international humanitarian framework is fracturing under the weight of declining health funds and surging defense budgets. Sanchez explicitly singled out the United States, pointing to a stark disparity in Washington's recent fiscal priorities.
El mayor riesgo para la salud global ya no es la falta de ciencia, sino la falta de conciencia. En apenas unos meses, el mismo país que ha recortado unos 18.000 millones de dólares en salud global y ayuda al desarrollo, ha gastado más de 29.000 millones de dólares en una guerra cuyas consecuencias humanitarias y geopolíticas serán también devastadoras.
Sanchez highlighted severe global vulnerabilities, drawing direct parallels between previous international health crises like COVID-19 and the Ebola epidemic that struck 12 years ago. He noted that the threat is mounting once again, pointing to recent disease outbreaks tied to maritime environments as a sign of a dangerously compromised system.
Lo vivimos hace 12 años con el ébola, lamentablemente lo estamos volviendo a vivir. Lo vivimos hace pocos años, 6 años, con mucha mayor crudeza con la pandemia de la COVID-19, y ese mismo temor, a menor escala, volvió a surgir hace apenas unos días con el brote del hantavirus en el buque MV Hondios. Por tanto, invertir en salud global es invertir en seguridad para nuestros países y para nuestros conciudadanos.
A According to Sanchez, this 30% plunge in international funding over the last 2 years threatens to reverse decades of hard-won progress in reducing child mortality and combating entirely preventable diseases. The remarks carry profound urgency as the World Health Organization has officially declared a public health emergency over a spreading Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. The World Health Organization on Sunday officially determined that the widening Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. The outbreak has hit high traffic areas hard, with more than 240 suspected cases and 80 deaths already documented across 2 major mining towns. The WHO has prompted international partners to rapidly mobilize emergency resources to assist the DRC government on the ground. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNA News.
The government of Zambia coldly rejected a $2 billion health agreement with the United States. Lusaka cited unacceptable clauses in the proposed memorandum that demanded preferential mining rights for American firms and the enforced shift of sensitive biometric data to Washington, signaling a significant shift away from traditional aid Division C. Paul Montibon tells us more.
The controversial multi-billion-dollar bilateral package is stalled indefinitely after Zambian officials discovered the funding was explicitly contingent on yielding massive structural concessions. Under the proposed terms, Zambia would be forced to grant preferential market access to U.S. mining corporations while surrendering aggressive biometric health data sharing. Permanent Secretary of the Zambian Ministry of Information and Media, Thabu Kawana, argues that the continent must transition entirely toward equal economic partnerships.
We no longer need aid, but we need partnerships. Africa is no longer a place to look to provide aid, but it's a continent to look to get into partnership, to understand that the minerals that we have, the resources that we have are needed for development both in Africa and out of Africa, and therefore there is need for the rest of the world to come and play with Africa as partners.
Prominent economists point out that Zambia's ultimate leverage lies directly in its critical green energy reservoirs. As Africa's second-largest producer of copper, the country is currently tracking an ambitious production target, aiming to leap from over 890,000 metric tons last year to an estimated 1 million metric tons this year, with an ultimate goal of 3 million metric tons annually by 2031.
That we hold the cards. So we don't have to agree with any investor who comes to Zambia and puts their demands on the table. We should be doing the opposite. We should be setting the agenda and saying, if you want to invest in Zambia, this is what you need to comply with.
However, the immediate freeze has sparked deep concern within the domestic medical sector. Health experts warn that external funding remains heavily integrated into public clinical operations, with Medical Association of Zambia President Maziko Firi cautioning that any withdrawal of foreign aid must be phased in gradually to avoid collapsing local health delivery infrastructure.
So external funding, as it were, is still critical. Is still crucial because it will be able to harness, to handle, and also to make sure our gains that we have so far achieved are maintained. But our stance is that it should be done in a smooth and gradual, well, mutually respectable manner so that we are able to keep the gains. At the same time, we are able to transition into local or domestic generated resources.
For God and my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNA News.
Severe rioting gripped Bolivia's administrative capital on Monday as protesters detonated dynamite, torched police vehicles, and looted government-linked buildings in a hardened bid to force the resignation of President Rodrigo Paz. Carlo de la Peña reports.
Downtown La Paz descended into chaos as Bolivia entered its third week of nationwide unrest. Riot police fired tear gas to stop a massive protest march from reaching Plaza Murillo. Demonstrators, including mining cooperatives, transport unions, and indigenous groups aligned with former President Evo Morales, hurled stones, firecrackers, and sticks of mining dynamite. Violence spread across the city. Protesters attacked the Ugarte building linked to the mining sector, smashing windows and attempting to loot offices. Another group stormed the Departmental Court of Justice, throwing furniture and legal files into the streets. State infrastructure was also hit. A police cruiser was overturned and burned, while several Teleférico cable car stations were vandalized. President Rodrigo Paz's 6-month-old government is now facing a major political crisis. Despite scrapping a controversial agrarian law, anger over inflation, diesel shortages, and falling purchasing power continues to fuel protests. Authorities deployed around 3,500 security personnel to clear highway blockades and protect key facilities. Injuries have been reported, but no official casualty count has been released. With unions planning a nationwide mobilization on May 21, pressure on the government is intensifying. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carla de la Peña, SMNI News.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo. Once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities. His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
Senators formally gathered in plenary for the opening of the impeachment court and the start of the impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte. Angel Pastor reports.
Senator Villanueva.
The Senate has officially convened yesterday as an impeachment court to begin the impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte. Shortly past 3 p.m. on Monday, May 18, the Senate resumed session for the opening of the impeachment court. 23 senators were present during the session, except for Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa.
Impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. I state your name.
I, Alan Peter Compañero Shram Cayetano,
solemnly swear
that
in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte,
that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte,
now pending, I will do impartial justice according to the Constitution.
I will do impartial justice according to the Constitution
and laws of the Philippines.
And the laws of the Philippines.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Senator Camille Villar, being the youngest senator, administered the oath of Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano as presiding officer of the impeachment court. After this, the senators took their oath one by one as senator judges who will hear the impeachment trial against the vice president. The impeachment court immediately ordered the issuance of a writ of summons to VP Sara along with a complete copy of the articles of impeachment. The vice president was directed to submit her answer within 10 calendar days from receipt of the summons. She was also ordered to appear before the Senate once summoned by the impeachment court.
The court having been organized, and the articles of impeachment having been presented, let a writ of summons be issued to the Vice President, Sara Zimmerman Duterte, who is directed to file her answer within a non-extendable period of 10 days from receipt, pursuant to Article 7 of the Rules of Procedure of Impeachment Trial. She is directed to appear before the Session Hall of the Senate of the Philippines upon notice. The Sergeant at Arms is directed to serve the written summons on Vice President Sara Duterte along with a copy of the Articles of Impeachment. The prosecution may file a reply within a non-extendable period of 5 days from receipt of the answer. The parties may file their pleadings and annexes in person or through electronic mail. All other pleadings, motions, similar papers intended for the consideration of this court may be filed electronically. We will circulate the specific instructions on the format for the pleadings and manner of electronic filing for the guidance of all parties.
The clerk of court will then schedule the pre-trial where both camps are expected to present their documents and evidence related to the articles of impeachment. After this, the trial proper will begin on a date to be set by the impeachment court. The senator judges will also hold a caucus before releasing the official calendar with the succeeding hearings. The 11-member House prosecution panel was also expected to attend, but they did not show up during the opening of the impeachment court. The defense team of Vice President Sara Duterte recognized the formation of the Senate as an impeachment court and the issuance of the summons against the vice president. According to Duterte's camp, they will follow the process and submit the appropriate response in accordance with the Constitution and existing rules. For now, the defense team has chosen not to issue further statements out of respect for the ongoing impeachment process. For God of my beloved Philippines, Azel Pastor, SMNI News.
Following the leadership change in the Senate, new committee chairmanships and other reorganizations in the chamber have also been laid out. Angel Pastor is back for more news.
The Philippine Senate has announced the new chairpersons of several standing committees following the leadership change in the upper chamber under Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano. During the plenary session on May 18, Acting Senate Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva announced the new committee assignments as part of the senators' reorganization. Among those affected were committees previously headed by senators who are now part of the minority bloc. Senator Bam Aquino was removed as a chairperson of the Committee on Basic Education, which will now be headed by Senator Loren Legarda. Senator Loren Legarda will also continue to chair the Committee on Culture and the Arts. The Committee on Public Services, previously chaired by Senator Raffy Tulfo, was assigned to Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Meanwhile, Senator Jinggoy Estrada became the new chairperson of the Committee on Games and Amusements, replacing Senator Erwin Tulfo. Senator Jinggoy Estrada will also head the Committee on National Defense and Security. Senator Pia Cayetano retained her chairmanship of the Committees on Ways and Means, Energy and Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking. Risa Ontiveros was removed as chairperson of the Committee on Health, which was returned to Senator Bongo, who will also remain head of the Sports Committee. Senator Joel Villanueva will remain chairperson of the Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education. Senator Robin Padilla also retained the chairmanship of the Committees on Public Information and Mass Media and Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs. Meanwhile, the Senate is considering Senator Pia Cayetano and Rodante Marcoleta as possible replacement for Senator Ping Lacson as head of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Also yesterday, during the Senate's convening as an impeachment court, Jose Luis Montales took his oath as the new Senate Secretary, replacing Mark Leandro Mendoza, who resigned from the post. Mendoza submitted his courtesy resignation last Tuesday and clarified that it was not related to the recent tension inside the Senate. Montales previously served as Secretary General of the House of Representatives during the term of Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano as House Speaker. He also served as City Administrator of Taguig City. For God of my beloved Philippines, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
Global musical icons Shakira and Burna Boy have joined forces to release Die Die, the official anthem for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, just as trailblazing details emerged for the tournament's first ever revenue-driven halftime show. Faith Agustin has the latest buzz.
The official sound of the 2026 FIFA World Cup has arrived. Shakira and Burna Boy released their new global anthem, Die Die, blending Afrobeats and Latin pop in a multilingual track that name-checks football powerhouses including Brazil, Colombia, Japan, and the Netherlands. Shakira teased the launch last week with dance footage from Rio's Maracana Stadium. The release comes as FIFA confirmed the first ever World Cup final halftime show. Shakira, Madonna, and BTS will headline the July 19 spectacle at MetLife Stadium, curated by Coldplay's Chris Martin. The show will support the new FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund, which aims to raise $100 million for education access and youth football programs. More than $30 million has already been pledged, including $1 from every World Cup ticket sold. The entertainment push follows other brand tie-ins, including a Coca-Cola track featuring J Balvin and Travis Barker. With matches across the US, Canada, and Mexico, FIFA is leaning heavily into pop culture to power its biggest tournament yet. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest show buzz.
Brazil will once again look to make history on North American soil as the five-time world champions begin their quest for a sixth FIFA World Cup title in 2026. Meanwhile, two-time Olympic gold medalist Carlos Yulo delivered another stunning performance in France as he led OAJLP Gymnastic to the French Men's Artistic Gymnastics Championship title in Amiens. Khalid La Peña reports.
The Brazilian national team enters the tournament determined to end more than 2 decades of frustration on football's biggest stage after last winning the World Cup in 2002. The last time Brazil ended a lengthy title drought came during the 1994 World Cup in the United States, where the Seleção captured their 4th championship. With the 2026 edition set across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, Brazilian supporters are hoping for another memorable run. New head coach Carlo Ancelotti brings experience and championship pedigree to the squad after years of success in European club football. Brazil's attack is expected to be led by Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr., who has developed into one of the world's most top players following multiple Champions League triumphs and a runner-up finish in the 2024 Ballon d'Or race. Barcelona winger Rafinha adds creativity and scoring power, while teenage prospect Estevao continues to impress after a strong start to his international career. Defensively, Brazil remains solid with veteran captain Marquinhos partnering Arsenal center-back Gabriel at the heart of the back line. Despite consistently reaching the latter stages of recent tournaments, Brazil has fallen short in key knockout matches and has exited in the quarterfinals 4 times in the last 5 World Cups. Now with a balanced mix of experienced stars and emerging talent, the Seleção hopes 2026 will mark the return of football's most successful nation to the top of the world game. Meanwhile, competing in the historic city north of Paris, Carlos Yulo once again showcased the brilliance that made him an Olympic champion by producing top scores in multiple events to help his club dethrone defending champion ASVG Valerus. The Filipino gymnastics star impressed in the floor exercise after earning a near-perfect score of 15.050 with a dazzling routine that highlighted his trademark power and precision. Yulo also raised the difficulty level in the parallel bars competition by unveiling a tougher routine along with a new dismount, finishing with a strong score of 14.250. His performances proved crucial as OAJLP Gymnastics secured the top 12 finals crown in the French League competition. Following the victory, Yulo shared his emotions on social media, saying he was proud of the team's effort and determination throughout the event. The 25-year-old added that despite the successful outcome, the road to the championship was filled with pressure and stressful moments, making the triumph even more meaningful for both him and his teammates. Yulo continues to build momentum internationally following his historic Olympic campaign, further establishing himself as one of the world's premier artistic gymnasts. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may we be inspired with the words of the song. The greatest love is when you are willing to live and die for a cause. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Prince Tripoli. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.